Hello and welcome back to Sack to the Future, the 1962 season, our third season, and this is the start of week 2 of 1962. We are starting you off with one of the bonus games, and Sack to the Future will be bringing you a bunch of action here in week 2 as there is 3 eligible games to be brought via the simulation bonus game. This is the first one, the Vikings at Eagles. There's also the Raiders and Dallas Texans, and the Packers and Lions are squaring off. So 3 additional bonus games on top of the 9 user teams that you're used to seeing. Here you take a look at what they did last week. The Vikings gave up a bunch of yards. The Eagles were much better defensively. Of course, the Eagles were playing the Lions offense, where the Vikings had to go up against the Giants, who are going to be one of the top offenses in the league this year. So as they get ready to run out here at Franklin Field, there you see Sonny Jorgensen leading out his Eagles. Irv Cross on the sidelines, getting pumped up. And Bill Butler has not returned one yet. Perhaps they were using a different returner in week 1, as I'm sure against the Giants they had to return some kicks. Alright, let's set this up. There we go. Eagles kicking off to the Vikings. Not the deepest kick. Butler able to return it up to the 36-yard line. And now comes Fran Tarkenton. See, last week he had 207 yards, 1 touchdown, but he did throw the 2 interceptions, and one of those was a pick 6. And once again, it appears that the comments are not working on YouTube. There's a handoff to Tommy Mason, and he gets a first down. First carry, 14 yards, right up the gut. That's a way to start it. Tommy Mason now over 100 yards for the season, as he had a pretty good week 1. Mason in real life, 1962, in just 14 games, because they played a 14-game schedule, had over 1,300 yards between rushing and receiving. So here you see Fran Tarkenton complete a 15-yard pass. So the Vikings had some decent offense. They put 17 points up, but had some decent yards. I think they went over 300 yards. But the problem with the Vikings is their defense. They gave up a ton of yards in week 1 and 62. They were one of, if not the worst defense in the NFL. All right, Tommy Mason, 22 yards on just 2 carries. And now Fran Tarkenton from the shotgun. He'll give it to McElhaney. And look at that, the touchdown. Okay, so Mason gets a couple carries, 22 yards. And then the old man, McElhaney, takes it into the end zone for the touchdown. The Vikings run it right down the Eagles' throat. It was all blocking. I mean, he might not have had an easier touchdown, at least in the last couple of years. So the Vikings come out motivated, and Franklin Field is quiet. 4 plays, 64 yards. 1 completion of 15 yards. The other 3 were runs. So 49 yards running right down the Eagles' throat. And if you're a fan of the NFC North and not a Viking fan, that is disturbing. Out comes Sonny Jurgensen. Now you'll remember, if you don't remember, go back to the playlist under the Vinny X Wolf channel, and you'll see that the last game played of Week 1 featured the Eagles against the Lions in a defensive struggle. Don't think the Eagles will get away with that little amount of points today after giving up that quick touchdown, so we're going to see if Sonny can throw the ball around a bit. He's good on the first one to Retzlaff across the 45 up to the 47-yard line, 22 yards on their first play. So maybe we have a little bit of an offensive game going here. Not sure why I'm watching replays. All right, let's get back to the action. 8-minute quarters. Got to cut down on some of those replays. So handoff to Brown. He breaks a tackle and gets close to a first down himself. Second and 1 now for the Eagles. Now the Eagles in 1962 averaged just over 20 points per game. Brown picks up the first down. Averaged 20 points a game, allowed over 25 points a game. This Viking team also allowed an even worse 29.3 points per game. And their offense was not as good, getting only the 18 points per game. So, looking at those stats, also the Eagles were 3-10-1. The Vikings were 2-11-1. So the Eagles are better statistically. Record-wise, they're just the one game better. Let's take a look at the starting lineup. McCusker, Wittenburn, Schrader, Case, and Schmidt. Brown and Dean are the running backs. McDonald and Retzlaff the receivers. And the tight end, of course, was Dick Lucas. Smith, not Schmidt. J.D. Smith is the right tackle. Jurgensen back to pass. Quick throw to Cassidy. That's a first down. Jurgensen, a 2-for-2 start. So again, this is the opener for Week 2. It is one of the 3 eligible bonus games. The Raiders and Dallas Texans bonus game has been confirmed. It will be on the Vinny X Wolf channel. We are not sure if the Packers versus the Lions will be televised or YouTubeized. If so, it'll be on the Tears 89 channel, but we have not confirmed the time slot for that, or it has actually not been confirmed that that will be brought to you. We'll just see how the week goes, but it is eligible. And then, of course, you have the human games. The Bears against the Cowboys, user matchup there. That you can see here, of course, from the Bears' point of view, on the Tears 89 channel from the Cowboys' point of view. That'll be a rematch of the 1960 divisional game in which the Cowboys won. There's a handoff right up the middle. Goes Brown for the touchdown. So both teams just drive right down the field. You're seeing the patheticness of these two defenses. Although the Eagles last week looked like a stellar defense, their true nature comes out here on the first drive, and the Vikings are pathetic. They were pathetic at Week 1, and they're pathetic on defense again here to start Week 2. But it could make for an entertaining game if you like shootouts. Back to the list of what we're going to bring to you this week. Also on this channel, the Broncos, of course, you know, are here. This is your home for the Denver Broncos, and they will play the Pittsburgh Steelers. And over on the John M channel, you'll find the high-flying Giants taking on the Redskins. That should be a good competitive game, but I do expect the Giants to win that one, probably by about 2 touchdowns. Then you got the Colts and Oilers. They meet twice a year. You never know what you're going to get. You've seen anything from, I think you've actually seen blowouts both ways. And, of course, sometimes they'll bring you very close games. That's on both the Vinny X Wolf and the John M channels. Then you'll have the Bills chart. Oh, take a look. Alderman Huth Tinkelhoff is the center. Mason McCaney and Reichow and Ferguson are your receivers. And the tight end, getting the start at tight end, was, oh, look at that. Throws it into quadruple coverage, but incomplete. The starting tight end is Steve Stonebreaker for the Vikings. Just thrown off slightly there. And now, defensive-wise, sorry, I just got thrown off a little bit there, but defense will go through it real quick. On the line for the Eagles is Baker, Gunnels, Lewis, and Richards. There's completion out to Ferguson across the 50. Your linebackers are Harrison, Bednarik, and Bond. Scotty and Cross are the corners. Both had interceptions in that Week 1 game against the Lions. And then Jimmy Carr and Don Burrows are your safeties. Just thrown off a little bit on because I didn't see the tight end Stonebreaker, but also the running back for the Vikings. Now I think historians obviously know that that's Hugh McElhaney. I think the name was misspelled a little bit there. So it confused me, but we're back on track. Here's a completion from Tarkenton to Donahue. Brings up a 3rd and 1. Here I was all set to dig in thinking, okay, now even though the humans have had no problem on All-Pro, maybe the these type of bonus games will be defensive struggles as the Week 1 game was between the Lions and Eagles. And these two teams are just going back and forth, and it's hard to keep up. There's Tarkenton to Smith, another first down. Now a side bet being placed on when, what quarter, and what minute will the first punt occur. See right now, 4th quarter with 5 minutes to go, is taking the lead. You see Chuck Bednarik with the first tackle of his Week 2. So handoff to Mason up the middle. He stumbles and falls inches short of the first down. That was Maxie Bond who had the tackle there, but he was out of position. Mason actually stumbled over his feet, basically gave him a free tackle. Here you see the Broncos and Steelers will be brought to you on this channel. Both teams 1-0. Should be a good game. There's a handoff to Mason. Huge hole inside the 15. All the way down to the 12. 43 yards on 6 rushes, averaging over 7 yards a carry. Maxie Vaughn somehow got the tackle on that, but still has just 1 tackle. So maybe they didn't give him the tackle for when Mason tripped over his legs. Another handoff, this time to Hugh McElhaney. And yes, we're missing an L. So that is something that will be fixed after this game. It's a handoff to him again. 3 carries, 32 yards, and a touchdown. So between Mason and the King, you're talking about close to 100 yards rushing already. Or over 70 at least. Tarkenton now on 3rd and 5. He'll look end zone, and it's knocked away. Finally, a defensive play is made. And that will force the field goal kicker to come out, Jim Christofferson. He was over 50% in 1962, which probably puts him as the top half in the league. He's good from there. Vikings lead 10-7. 47 seconds to go in the first. McDonald driven all the way back, and the Eagles take over at the 25. You take a look, already over 200 yards of offense these two teams have combined for here in the first quarter. So hope you like offense. There's a play action fake to Brown. Jurgensen's got time. He's loading up all the way downfield. He's got McDonald with a diving catch across the 30. Sonny Jurgensen to Tommy McDonald. That is Hall of Fame worthy combination there. And the Eagles are right in business. Hand off to Brown. There's looked like a huge hole. It was closed quickly by number 25 off the edge. Of course, that is Dean Derby, the corner. Limited to a 4-yard gain. Will the Eagles call one more play? I think they're going to let it go, but let's see. Yeah, they'll let it go into the second quarter. So, 1 quarter down. The Vikings in a little bit of an upset. Not much, though. These teams are both about the same. Vikings lead 10-7. I did pull up YouTube, so I guess I am one of my viewers myself, just because if you want to leave a comment there, I will see it now that I have YouTube up. I apologize, it's not working on the right side of the screen. I mean, I don't really apologize. It sucks that YouTube can't figure it out, but it works on some channels, not mine apparently. There's Brown for a first down. 7 carries, 38 yards. Both these teams are really working it offensively. But again, these are two of the worst defenses. The Vikings might be the worst defense in the league this year. There's Brown. He muscles his way forward for a couple more. Second and 8 now from the 12. Jurgensen. Oh, he avoids the sack and throws it out of bounds. So that's his first incompletion, and it was a good one to not take the sack. It's almost as if there's some doctoring of the viewership numbers going on here. Jurgensen completes it to Tommy McDonald. Tackled immediately, though. That's number 25, Derby again. Couple nice plays on this drive. Stopping the Eagles to a field goal attempt now. Bobby Watson comes out. He was not at 50%. More like 20-something% in 1962. But this one's short enough that he does put it home. And we're tied at 10 with 6:49 left in the first half. Oh, all right. Little meeting at midfield there. Not sure what that was all about. And now that we realize the L is missing, they are showing his name over and over again. The Vikings might just sit Tommy Mason to make us look at it. Nope, there's Mason. Huge hole again. Slams his way down to the 39-yard line, 38-yard line. 56 yards for Tommy Mason here in the first half. He was a Pro Bowler in 62. Again, over 1,300 total yards and 8 touchdowns. living up to that performance. And there he cuts it back and runs over number 45. He's up to 70 yards now. Tommy Mason is inspiring today. Don Burrows at least got in the way and still drug him down, but he took the brunt of that hit. Mason's still back there. They'll give it to him again. This time the other side. Gets a nice block. Spin move. Oh, he can't break that tackle. Only a 4-yard gain there, but Tommy Mason already up to 74 yards. Fran Tarkin into the line. Seems like a play action pass is about to come here. Nope, just a straight drop back. Quick throw. Complete. Fran Tarkin and 5 of 8 now, and that brings up a 3rd and 1. And if you were betting the first punt would be in the second quarter, you want to stop here. They'll hand it off to Hugh McElhaney, and he's all the way down to the 30. As good as Mason looks, the backup is looking just as good. Really, it's a story of the Vikings offensive line, or both these offensive lines, just manhandling the defenses so far. Tarkin turns. He'll give it to Hugh again. That is the worst run of the day from either Viking back, as he only gets 2 yards. Still positive, though. Tarkin hands it off again, and he'll fight his way down to the 24. 6 carries, 48 yards. Averaging 8 yards a carry, and the Vikings are doing an interesting job of feeding both running backs. I don't know if Mason is exploding for so many yards that he's getting tired quickly, or if they're both working, so why not keep feeding them both? There's a quick throw to Mason, and he was a good receiver in 62 again. Over 600 yards receiving to go along with his over 700 yards running. 17-yard completion there. Tarkin put it right on the money, though. Mason didn't have to slow down to catch that one. And that is the accuracy that you desire from a quarterback. 1st and goal. Hand off to Tommy Mason inside the 5, down to the 2-yard line. 79 yards. Over 90 all-purpose yards already for Mason, but no touchdown because Hugh McElhaney took the first one. Let's see who they put in to get this one. It looks like Hugh's back in there. Will he snipe it from Mason again, or does Fran Tarkin want to throw it in? There's nobody covering the slot receiver. Does Tarkin see it? Oh, they hand it off. There was nobody covering number 84. Oscar Donahue, but Fran Tarkenton didn't see it or refused to audible. This is only his 2nd year. Perhaps he has not been given that freedom from Norm Van Brocklin, his coach, yet. Tarkenton now on 3rd and goal. He'll scramble and find Ferguson in the back of the end zone for the touchdown. Fran Tarkenton completes his goal of throwing 1 touchdown pass. And the Vikings remain unstopped. Touchdown, field goal, touchdown. The Eagles have answered with a touchdown and field goal of their own, but now the pressure's on Sonny Jurgensen to get a touchdown before the half. 11 plays, 76-yard drive. It took almost 4 minutes off the clock. Already more points in this game, I think, than there was in the Week 1 matchup between the Eagles and the Lions. And after Brown, and he's ripped down. So number 79 of the Vikings, of course, that's the big man. Jim Prestel had enough. Rips him to the ground. Took out a little bit of frustration on that tackle. And unfortunately, again, the comments are not showing up, but we did just get a reminder, programming reminder for you. Jurgensen's going to take off and run and slide and looked like he almost hurt the safety there, but the Vinny X Wolf on top of all the Sack to the Future stuff that you can see there with the Bills and the Colts. Also the Dallas Texans and Raiders will be on there for week 2. But on Saturday night, he's going to bring you his own Super Bowl 53 simulation using Madden 19 with the, of course, Rams and Patriots. Hope everyone has their plans made for the Super Bowl. See Tom Brady win his record 6th Super Bowl. And the one Georgia Bulldog with championship heart, Sony Michel, being crowned as a champion. But the Vinny X Wolf channel will show you the simulation, see what Madden 19 thinks about it. Sonny Jurgensen's only thrown one incompletion, and that's because he wanted to. Oh, and he tries to throw an incompletion there, but Brown makes a diving catch. And that's not true. Brown has some yardage. Timmy Brown, we've been talking about how Mason is an all-purpose back. Well, Brown might be a better receiver, as you see from that diving catch. In 62, he ran for 545, which is solid, but he caught or received 849 yards. 849 yards receiving from a back. 1962. 52 receptions. Definitely a go-to receiver of Sonny Jurgensen's. 2nd and 7 now. In trouble, and down he goes. And that's Presto again. So if there's one man on either defense that has had enough of getting run over and beat down, it is Presto. And 3rd and 19, we might see a punt here. Screen pass called, and is that Presto again? Back-to-back sacks by Presto. And you've got it. Whoever said inside of 1 minute to go in the half would be the first punt. You are exactly right. And Vinny X Wolf, of course, in the comments. If you don't know by now, big Georgia Bulldog fan. And so the reminder that the Eagles have their own Georgia Bulldog back. Theron Sapp, number 30. Has not been used yet. Probably because the other backs have been so amazing. But don't know enough about him to know how much heart he has. But if you're looking for a back from Georgia that wears number 30 that has heart, you're going to have to look at Theron Sapp, because there's nobody in the current NFL that wears number 30 from Georgia that has any heart. I guess maybe he has some heart, just not a heart of a champion, let's put it that way. Of course, I'm referring to a certain Rams running back. Fran Tarkenton hits Mayberry, who stumbles but does hold on to the ball. So Mayberry, yet another back. So the Eagles are using their entire allotment of backs today. And they're all killing it, really. Tarkenton now is going to step up and get sacked from behind. That's Maxie Bond, the superstar outside linebacker. And Fran's going to go ahead and let the clock run out. So the Eagles go into the locker room up 17-10 here from Philadelphia. Take a quick look at the halftime stats here, and then we'll get back to the action. Come on now. There you see both teams' offenses going crazy, and they're both very balanced. Look at the Eagles, 73 rushing, 76 rushing, 73 passing. The Vikings are over 130 yards on the ground. Jurgensen has only thrown one incompletion. That's the one he fired out of bounds to avoid the sack. Fran Tarkenton only the 3 incompletions. So both quarterbacks have been fantastic. Both running games have been even better than their quarterbacks. The touchdown lead belongs to the Vikings, but the Eagles will start the second half with the ball. And the punters, of course, King Hill of the Eagles leads John McCormick of the Vikings 1-0 as far as punts go. Unfortunately, Vinny, the Rams, I guess they can win the Super Bowl. I certainly wouldn't be putting any money on the Rams, but I am quite sure if they do, it's C.J. Anderson or maybe an Aaron Donald or even Goff. But it will not be Gurley that's the MVP. There's the completion to Tommy McDonald downfield, across midfield, into Viking territory. Now watch Gurley run for like 213 yards and 4 touchdowns or something ridiculous. There's a handoff to Brown. Stood up and slammed to the ground. There's Clancy Osborne, the outside backer. 2 tight end set now. Handoff to Brown, and oh, there's a nice play made on the edge as he went away from his protect. He had 2 tight ends with a tackle on the one side. He decided to go for the trick, but the Vikings did not fall for it at all. And now 3rd and 11. Will the Eagles have to punt a second time? Sonny Jurgensen will spin out, come to the left. Now he's in trouble, and down he goes. That's a sack by Osborne. Back-to-back good plays. Or no, 2 out of 3 plays on that drive were made by Osborne. And the Eagles come out to punt again. So the Eagles take the lead 2-0 in punts. That's not the statistic you want to win, and this punt is ridiculously horrible. But it's off the Vikings, and who got it? A terrible punt, and even worse fielding of the punt, but the Vikings do recover. And there he is. They're going to constantly show you him instead of Tommy Mason. But he's having a good game. Both backs have been stellar. So the first half was all offense. Second half starts off with a punt and now a penalty from the Vikings offense. So let's see if there's a completely different game here in the second half. There's Mason. He's up to 90 yards already. 7.5 yards per carry. With the addition of Tinkelhoff at center, the Vikings have had 2 straight games where they've been able to run the ball pretty well. And Tinkelhoff's not leaving anytime soon. So the Vikings, although in 62, they still kind of suck on defense. They're starting to put some things together on offense. Fran Tarkenton's learning the league and his teammates better. Mason is already a Pro Bowl running back, and he's showing it. The line's starting to come together now with Tinkelhoff anchoring the middle. All bad news for the Bears. The Packers and Lions are already amazing at defense, and now the Vikings are coming along on offense. But the Bears aren't too shabby themselves, so it's not so bad. Oh, look at this punt. The Vikings finally get a chance to punt the ball, and McCormick does an amazing job. Down to inside the 5, inside the 3. So back-to-back punts. What a strange start to the second half compared to how this game went in the first half. Now Jurgensen will have to give it to Brown, who Timmy Brown just slams forward. He has 44 yards on 13 carries. Not bad. Does have a touchdown. We haven't seen much from Clarence Peaks. The Eagles have pretty much gone exclusively to Brown, whereas the Vikings are spreading it out to all their backs. There's a play-action pass now. Sonny wants to throw. He throws it towards the sidelines. Oh, the hit jars the ball loose. Livingston with a nice play. Watson can't hold on as his back was being bent in half. And that brings up 3rd and 7, and the Eagles don't want to punt from here. They're going to need Sonny Jurgensen to do something. Nice protection by the line, and he's able to get it off and hit Brown across the 25. And that's that man, Timmy Brown. Again, over 800 yards as a receiving back at 62. And Jurgensen goes the check down route again, and he delivers. Both receivers off to the right side. They'll give it to Fred Dean. Oh, that's right. They're not using Clarence Peaks because he's injured. That is correct. Clarence Peaks suffered the injury, I think. I don't think it was in week 1. I think it might have been in preseason, but he's out for like another 6 weeks. So Dean has been taken over as the second running back. And there's Dean again across the 30, 35, up past the 40. 4 rushes, 40 yards for Dean. And the backup running backs are having such great games, but so are the starters, so I can't say that they deserve to start or anything. Just running games are working brilliantly from both sides. Here's completion to superstar Tommy McDonald. Jurgensen 10 of 12 for 175 yards. McDonald's already over 100. There's a handoff to Dean again. He gets a couple more. Timmy Brown has been able to rest quite a bit on the last few series here. Ever since making that catch to get the first down. Oh! And Jurgensen, unfortunately, gets his own tackle to jump. That's a false start. I believe that's the first penalty against the Eagles. 3 minutes to go in the third. 17-10 Vikings. It's been that way since the half. Sonny Jurgensen trying to change it. They'll give it to Timmy Brown. He gets blasted, fumbles the football. Winston picks it up. And he is going to take it to the house unless Sonny Jurgensen comes up with a play. Oh, Sonny Jurgensen, I did not expect, but he shows a lot of heart there. Runs him down and makes the tackle. Roy Winston thought he had a touchdown. Sonny Jurgensen, shoelace tackle, stops him short. Brown having such a great game, but he just got blasted there and fumbled the ball. And now we're going to take a look at the starter, Tommy Mason. Will that mean that the Vikings are going to go ahead and let him bring it into the end zone? That was the first turnover, and the Vikings can turn it into a 14-point lead. There's the handoff to Mason, and of course, he's going to be kept out of the end zone by the big man in the middle himself. You know who it is. Concrete Charlie, Chuck Bednarik. Handoff to Mason again, and he's in on the second one. Hold me down once, but not twice. Mason closing in on 100 yards and with a rushing touchdown. He's now got a rushing touchdown in each of the first 2 weeks. And he's gone over 90 yards in each of the first 2 weeks. He did not get 100 in week 1. We'll see if he can get to that century mark here today. Now the Eagles in a bunch of trouble, down 24-10. Now, the funny thing is the Eagles took down the 11-win Lions, basically the second best team in the NFL, in 62. But they are having all kinds of problems with the 2-11-1 Vikings. So that's why we play the games. It's not just a complete replay of the 60s. We are seeing if people can change their fate. Uh-oh. Speaking of changing fate, Timmy Brown's not supposed to miss any time, but first he fumbles. And now he's holding his elbow. Perhaps that had something to do. Maybe he heard it on the fumble himself, tried to give it a go. And there he is on the sidelines trying to shake it out. But for right now, they've already lost Peaks. So the Eagles are down 2 running backs. They're down to Ted Dean, sorry. They're down to Ted Dean, their 3rd string running back, and I think they have only the one more. Dean fighting. Just too many purple guys there. Not the purple people eaters, that's not yet. Just men in purple at this point. Jurgensen now. Gets it out to Douglas. That's a negative yard. Brings up 4th and 10. Douglas, of course, Merrill Douglas, was not on the Eagles in week 1. Just came over. And that's his first action. Another horrible punt. Let's see if it's fielded correctly. It bounces, and the Vikings stay away from it smartly this time. I'm not sure what King Hill, I guess it worked the first time, so he decided to do it the second time, but he's averaging like 9 yards a punt on the last 2. Great field position for the Vikings, already up by 2 full touchdowns. This could put the game away if Tarkenton can put it in the end zone. He's looking. He rolls to the right, slings it, and finds Donahue for a big gain down to the 16. Fran Tarkenton has used his running game effectively and has only needed to throw a few times, but he's been effective, 11 of 14. Now turn and hand it to Mason, who cuts to the outside. Spin move, and he's in the end zone for the second time. Tommy Mason is playing like a man possessed. And Hugh McElhenney has been on his heels, maybe threatening to take the starting job away. So Tommy Mason has just outplayed most anyone not named, well, I guess Toller or Jim Brown in the league so far. Absolutely on fire, Tommy Mason. Now there's got to be wind because on this end zone, the kicks are constantly going out the back of the end zone. And when King Hill, who's the only punter that wants to punt today, goes to punt from this side of the field, he's punting like 9-yard sky balls. Is that Timmy Brown back in? No, it's Dean still. Oh, takes a shot from Jim Marshall. Stayed on his feet, though. But then Winston was able to pick up the pieces and get credit for the tackle. 31-10. 3 rushing touchdowns and a throwing touchdown for the Vikings. And up to Ted Dean. He's now up to 49 yards on 8 carries, so he's the 3rd string back, but he's playing effectively. 3rd and 4. The Eagles have punted the last few times. They need to keep the ball through this quarter until they get the wind. Jurgensen needs to come up with something here. Marshall, spin move. Oh, nicely played by the tackle, and Jurgensen overthrows his man. And that's only his 3rd misfire. Actually, one of them was on purpose, only his 2nd misfire. but that will cause King to have to punt into this gust of wind again. And he doesn't get a very good punt off again. The Vikings oh my gosh, Butler. Wow, that was dangerous. Butler came flying up. It looked like they were going to stay away from it. Butler at the last minute comes charging up. Gets the perfect Sunday hop. If it would have been any other kind of bounce, that might be the Eagles' ball. That is a risky play by Butler, but he got away with it. Now, the Vikings, who have already turned it into a dominating game, can turn it into a blowout on this drive. Tommy Mason, 16 carries, 114 yards, and 2 touchdowns. One of the finest performances by a AI back in the early going here in 1962. Tarkenton. Throw it to the outside, and his man, that's Reichow, I believe. Number 89, of course it is. Tarkenton on the move, puts the ball on the money. Starting to see the full, what's the word? The full entourage of the Vikings offense. Fran Tarkenton, oh my gosh! That was a heck of a move. He turns a definite sack into a 1-yard gain. Rolled out to the right. There was a bunch of Eagles there. He just tucked the ball away first and then put on a juke that got him across the line of scrimmage. And that's how the third quarter is going to end. I just saw your comment now, Benny. Fran Tarkenton, yes, lots of heart. Most Georgia Bulldogs have heart. It's just a couple, or mainly one in particular, that doesn't seem to have any. So hand up to Tommy Mason. Oh. Irv Cross finally able to bring him down before he does something exciting. Tark will give it to Mason again, and this time he's only to the 28, and that brings up 4th and 5. Will they try a long field? They're going to give him a shot. This is Jim Christopherson, the rookie. 45-yard attempt. No. No good. Well, hey, it's 1962. Anything over 40 is going to be sketchy. And there you see from 45, no chance. Jurgensen gets it to Lucas for 1 yard. Lucas had a fantastic week 1. I think that might be only his second catch here this week. Jurgensen, well, oh! Cross up there between Jurgensen and his receiver. Lucas just 2 catches, 4 yards. Back to earth a little bit after that incredible week 1 performance. 3rd and 9 now. Sonny Jurgensen's got to get something going. And, oh, did you see how special Jim Marshall is on that play? Now, show us a replay. Show us replays of stupid stuff. We need to see this again. Come on. Where's the replay? There it is. Okay. There's on the top of your screen. It's Jim Marshall. There he is. Now he's got him. He's being held. Just a bull rush. He just pushes the tackle right into him and then turns with one arm and slings Jurgensen to the ground. Here's a close-up of it. Push him back, 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 back. Grab Jurgensen with one hand. Slings him to the ground. Jim Marshall. Absolute beast. 4th and 15. Jurgensen now. Quick drop. Slings it downfield on the money to Dick Lucas. Lucas shows up late here in this one. Six minutes to go. If the Eagles get a touchdown on this drive, it's not over. Hand off to Ted Dean. Now it would be a little more likely that people would believe that if they scored quickly. But just get the touchdown this drive. Jurgensen underneath to Gregory. First down. Jurgensen up to 199 yards passing now. Last week against the Lions, it was such a defensive game that you didn't see that Jurgensen ended up putting a decent amount of yardage up. And now it looks like he'll go over 200 today. He slings it over to Schwab, and that's another few yards. 15 of 19, 207 yards. Frankenhauser pushed him out of bounds. And there's movement on the offensive line. So the Eagles getting a drive together and then a drive killer. See if Sonny Jurgensen can get his team back on track. He spins out left. Marshall gets to him and sacks him for the second time on this drive. Jim Marshall. He is going to be there for a long time. You'll get to see him. Besides here, you'll see him twice a year against the Bears as well. There's Retzlaff showing up. Breaks 2 tackles and gets all the way inside the red zone. Nice run after the catch. Haven't called his name a bunch today, but you never want to forget about Pete Retzlaff. If Gurley's watching, that's what Hart looks like. Jurgensen now, hand off to Dean. Not much there. Now the Eagles' most important thing is score a touchdown. The second most important thing is not take forever. They are taking a long time on this drive. We're down to 4 minutes to go. They do have all their timeouts, but they need to get the ball in the end zone. Here's a screen to Dean. What a nice play made there by the linebacker, Jim wait, what? I read the number wrong, did I? Nope, 51. Well, 51 is Jim. Oh, I'm looking. Idiot. I was like, Jim Schrader. That doesn't make sense. That's Jim Leo. Misread of the last name there. Leo, of course, is the defensive end, not a linebacker. And there you see Dixon with the sack. And that makes it 4th and 22. That is the 6th sack. Told you it's too early for the Purple People Eaters, but the Vikings want it to come early. Jurgensen now 4th and 22, needs a miracle. Slings it downfield and finds the Viking. Fallon for the interception. And on the run back, there's an injury. Oh, you hope it wasn't some sort of cheap block made by one of the defenders on a unsuspecting offensive player. Let's see. Of course, there's no indication anywhere. There's Scary Fallon goes up and makes the interception. Certainly can't tell who's injured, but maybe they will actually announce it for us. Fran Tarkenton, 12 of 15, 112 yards and a touchdown. Very solid. Not needed to do much. No turnovers as a team from the Vikings, and that's just fine. The running game was Outstanding. And their defense, after getting yelled at in the locker room, came out and was outstanding in the second half. And when you have those two things going, you don't need to do much as a quarterback. Most importantly, just keep giving it to that man, Tommy Mason. Gets another 8-yard run there, and then is brought down with a face mask. Didn't look like a face mask, but that's what they're going to call it. It's on Maxie Bond, so all-pro, or at least Pro Bowler. Well, maybe not. Maybe not in 62. No, he wasn't. Of course, he's a Pro Bowler in 60, 61, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69. Bottom line, he's a great linebacker, but in 62, he was not a Pro Bowler. But he was a face mask grabber in 62, apparently. Time to run out the clock, give it to Mason. He just stops and takes the hit. 20 carries, 123 yards, 2 touchdowns. Tommy Mason, you might want to go ahead and get McElhaney back in there because you don't want Mason to get hurt. Nonsense, Mason says, give me the ball. Another yard, he's up to 125, and that'll get us to the 2-minute warning. 2 minutes to go in this one. All Vikings in the second half. Turned it up to a 21-point lead. There you see the Raiders and Dallas Texans played to a 0-0 tie in their scrimmage game where they were not allowed to throw forward passes. Bottom line is that score's irrelevant. That game will be on the Vinny X Wolf channel, and you'll see some real scores. Not sure what day, but it's coming up within the next 10 days or within the next week or 10 days at the most, I'm sure. So, now, finally, we'll get to see how John McCormick kicks into the wind. King Hill had all kinds of problem kicking this way. McCormick, well, it's a little better. Still pretty short, though. Ow, and the Eagles screw it up. Just like the Vikings did on the first one. But the Eagles don't recover their own muffed punt. Oh, boy. Disastrous second half for the Eagles. And the Vikings can just, well, pretty much run out the clock. Mason breaks a tackle. Mason's up to 138. The best performance in week 1 was Toller from the Houston Oilers, who I think was somewhere around 180. But this is still a quick start for Mason to try to get the week 2 crown. 136 yards with 2 touchdowns. That'll do it. No reason to call timeout if you're an Eagle. Just let this thing end, and they do. 31-10. Vikings destroy the Eagles. It was back and forth at the beginning, but then the Vikings put 21 points on the board. The Eagles forgot to come out of the locker room for the second half. And that will do it. Both these teams get to 1-1 records. So both still, you know, you can't say much about 1-1. All the statistics for 2-0 teams or 0-2 teams making and missing the playoffs do not apply. As this 1-1 is anything can happen going forward. All Vikings in the second half, though. Mason was amazing. Brown was good till he got hurt. That's the big thing. There's Timmy Brown. How injured is he? They already are without Peaks for 6 weeks. If Brown's out for significant time, that could really derail the Eagles season. Well, anyways, as I've said, plenty of Sack to the Future stuff coming your way over the next 10 days. A lot of week 2 action. Check out the channels John M, Tears89, Benny X Wolf, and come back here to see the Bears and Broncos play later after the Super Bowl. I do not think that there will be a game on this channel before the real life Super Bowl. Thanks for watching. Have a good night.